Hello everybody and welcome back. Part 4 of the new Robin printer, and I apologize for showing you the printer just from the back right now because a lot of stuff has happened and I've actually had the camera on for some of the things that I did, but I'm just doing the intro right now just because, well, yeah, things have happened, good things, bad things, unexpected things. And I want to get into showing things off right at the start. Yeah, I've made a lot of progress. As you can see, everything is sort of together right now, and I have a glass plate on the heated print bed, and I've attached it, and I've done tons of tests, but it's also been very much uphill work getting here. So let's just get started. So here's a bit of an behind the scenes. I just spent the last 3 days doing cables. I had to extend every cable on every stepper because the steppers that I'm using from Longs have open cable ends. And for the steppers I used 0.25 millimeter square high-grade copper cables. They work pretty well. They're single cables. For all of the signal wires for the sensors and stuff and switches, I'm using 0.2 millimeter paired cables. For the hot end, I am using special silicone sleeved cable that is 0.52, basically 20 gauge, I believe, and this is high-grade copper tinned. Also, these here are high-grade copper because you want the low resistance. And I'm basically using, oh, don't make a mess, these JST sets to crimp connectors on that. If you have open cable ends, of course, use some shrink wrap to make sure that there aren't any open contacts. And once you're done, of course, measure. Before you measure, you want to do a pull test on the connector because sometimes the crimps don't grab correctly and they're very easy to pull out, and then you have to do it again, of course. And always measure because at least with the stepper connections, you do not want to have any weak connections, because weak connections destroy your stepper drivers instantly, and it's a big problem. So when you go out and you want to do this yourself and you want to make this, either get a good set with a good crimping tool, or get a stepper with a cable that is long enough for your needs, but still make sure and measure, if there's no other way, measure that the connections to your steppers are good and that the JST connectors make good connection, because you can just plug them in, turn them on, and wiggle a cable, and you will have destroyed the stepper drivers, especially the 4988s. They die all the time. I think I have a bucket full of them. All of them are dead, all because either I pulled the cable or because I had a bad connection. Right. Yeah, like I said, I spent 4 evenings just making cables, and wait till I show you the printer. It looks like Rapunzel. Right. So, yeah, here's a treat. I managed to snag an E3D Titan. They're getting hard to get a hold of, and they're pretty expensive too, but I really love them. This one's still all new. Right, and because they are no, shit. Yeah, there's no extruder driver in here. You have got to be kidding me. All right. Yeah. Super. Okay, so I'm going to have to use another extruder drivers. And those were 60 euros. I would like to say some insults now, but it's just going to get the video demonetized. So think of something that's bad. I'm thinking of it too. Yeah, I'm going to have to grab another extruder driver. I think I have some cheap clones of these, and I'm just going to use one of those. Right. I'm going to have to get in touch with the seller. All right, let's move on to the printer. So let me just show this off at the beginning. So basically this here is the cable tree coming from the 3D printer, and each and every one of these cables has been fitted with JST connectors, or it's been soldered to the respective connections so it can be plugged into the controller board. And the controller board looks like a bit of a jumbled mess right now, but it's all set up. I have the drivers in there, and I'm using the 4988s because, well, I had a lot of them. I'm trying to use as much stuff that I have lying around, and yeah, that's just, I don't want to go out and buy a lot of stuff. I had to buy some stuff, but I'll show you. And everything is set up right now. I have, for a start, I've configured Repetier on this controller board just because it's an Arduino Mega, and this MKS board is RAMS 1.4 compatible. So just for getting something to run, Repetier is your friend. It is the easiest to set up, it's the easiest to understand, and if you need to modify anything, it's the easiest to modify, just because it is so well documented in the code. Right, so I just got off my emails to the guy who sold me this through Amazon, and there's no refunds. Yeah, and that one, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Oh, there's a front plate. No, it's even original E3D, but the main plastic body and the mechanics and everything is missing. So it's got the arm. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have my credit card company sort that one out for me. I really love buying original stuff just to support the guys that make it, and especially E3D, because they have a lot of great stuff. But once these things go through somebody else's hands, you just get scammed all the time. Yeah, sorry about that. Let's continue. So this is the screen running the Repetier firmware. I don't know if you've seen this before. It is very common on older, more simple printers, but it's a very good firmware. It is capable of moving really quickly. It doesn't have any of these special features that are hard to configure. It is just something that you can get to work easily, and that will run your printer and will give you great prints. And right now everything is set up on the printer. The fans are running, well, the fan is running, and it's just powered up very simply. For the heated print bed, I have that connected directly. This board can do 24 volts. I used 4 square millimeter high-grade copper cable. That's a bit of overkill, but who knows? Maybe I'll get a more powerful heated print bed. This one just has 120 watts, so this cable is absolute overkill. But yeah, it works. This here is the power supply that I bought. It was very cheap. It's a 24 volt, I think 10 amp or 12 amp. It was advertised as being suitable for 3D printers, but it's not. It's for LED lighting. It actually smoked a little bit. When I plugged it in, it does not like to run with very small loads. There are 2 resistors on the board that are getting wicked hot, and it just smells awful. Once you turn the heated print bed on, then it kind of subsides. It gets into its rhythm. Its efficiency goes up, and it's not as hot as it is when it's under too little load. So this thing is going to go back. I've already contacted the seller, and if I get the response correctly, which I think was translated from Chinese, they basically confirmed that this power supply is not good for 3D printers, and it doesn't like to run under very little load. Who would have thought? Also, these are the fans that I bought. Yeah, that's a story in itself, you know. These are supposedly fans that have 2 ball bearings and a 1 meter cable. That's the shortest meter that I've ever seen, and according to the plaque on the back of here, it doesn't have double bearings either. So I complained to the seller, and I complained to Amazon. Both of them didn't really respond. Then I left a very bad review on the seller page for selling bullshit like this, and Amazon deleted it, quoting that they would take responsibility. I don't know how they did that, because I never heard from them again, and I'm still stuck with this stuff, and I can send it back, but then I don't have anything for the printer, but still I don't have any long cable, so I made extensions, and I hope they die early enough so I can at least get their 1-year warranty or 2-year warranty. I don't think I'm going to hear from them. Right, let's continue. So after the fiasco with the extruder driver, I found this in my stash, which is a Red Rex Titan extruder upgrading kits. Yeah, it's not great, but I put it onto the printer, and let's see if I can show you. Watch out. We're going to move around, and oh well, it's right in the back of there. So I put it right here. Try to get you closer, and it's a cheap clone, but it came with a stepper, and for what it's worth, it appears to be moving. That's okay. I like it. So everything on the 3D printer is now connected. We have the extruder and hot end, and the tap is working. I haven't tightened it down all the way, so it has a little bit more play than it should have, but it works. I have not spent a lot of time aligning the axis to the print bed, so I think we're still off like 0.1 degrees. For that, I always use my trusty angle gauge, and I verified that the z-axis is parallel to the bed, because I can just set that up manually by twisting these steppers. I have not configured the firmware to have more than one Z-probe point. Also, the Z-probe, the switch inside the extruder, the tap, is also the Z0 switch, the Z minimal switch. So when it does homing, it does homing against this. I have not configured any bed leveling yet. That's going to come at a later step. But apart from that, for the firmware, everything is set up. And I also went ahead and I tightened the belts a little bit. They're not super tight, but I think it's good enough for getting it to move. So let's see if we can get this to home. I verified that the switches work, and I also verified that the directions of all the axes are correct. And yeah, maybe I should talk about that before moving it. So as you can see, I have all of the steppers mounted upside down. For me, this was just a design decision, and I didn't think much of it. When I set up the firmware, I discovered that really messes everything up. So the configuration in the firmware is now a non-standard configuration because everything's upside down. This is just not the way that the firmware was set up to accept it. Okay, let's try and get it to home. Oh, please work. So I'm gonna do a home all on the display, and we're seeing the Z-axis raise. Y-axis is the first to home. Then we get the X-axis, and now it should try to do the tap. And yeah, as you can see, I have everything set up to move really slowly. But once it goes down to where the glass is, we should actually see it touching the glass, and you should see the frame here move up. Yep, it did. Did the first tap, and now it's going to do the second, and it's done. That was a lot of work, and it drove me close to insanity. I was ready to puke. So that made me decide on a name for this printer. So the previous one was the Bad Robin, because everybody said it was a bad idea. So this is going to be the Mad Robin, because actually it nearly drove me mad. And I think it's a good enough name to discourage the YouTube algorithm from promoting these videos. That's the whole point of having these names. And yeah, it moved. Now let's try to set up a profile in a slicing program and try to get it to print. As you can see from the residual blue on the heated print bed, I already tried. but I did not get very far because of the nature of this printer. Right, so here we are in Repetier host. I just created the absolute minimal profile. Everything is basically default. I loaded a 3D Benchy, and yes, I know about the discussions about 3D Benchy. For my first try, I'm not going to care. I'm going to use default settings, no adhesion, 0.2 millimeter quality. I've put the speed up to maximum, which has a print speed of 60 millimeters per second, an outer perimeter speed of also 60, and infill with 100. The infill density is 20%, and I'm even leaving the filament settings at default, which is probably 210 degrees with 50 degrees for the heated print bed. I'm going to slice it with Cura engine, which is the default in Repetier host. And yeah, that's what we get. I'm going to put this on an SD card and plop it into the printer, and let's see if we can make it work. Okay, I'm going to press go on the display now, and it should do the homing, just to make sure that we don't have any leftover filament from me priming. I've preheated the extruder to 170 degrees, and the bed is, I think, at around 40. No, it's still cold. I'm going to leave all of this residue on here because I can't get it off. Should work anyway. So now it's preheating, and it will probably take a bit of time to do that. It's preheating the bed. Well, we're already at 43 degrees, and the extruder is sitting at 170. And we are slowly creeping up to 50 degrees bed temperature. Once we get within a degree or so of the 50 degrees, it should switch on the heating for the extruder. Yep, extruder 1 is now preheating to 210, and that is super fast. Now here we go. We almost missed it. So let's get this out of the way. Yeah, it is doing the skirt, and what you can see right away is that the bed is not very level at all. But that's okay. I knew that could happen. And it's really doing its best to cope with it somehow. Yeah, I'm really sorry that I have to show you this from the back, but the way everything is set up right now for testing just doesn't give me the ability to put the camera on the other side. But it's going. And it's going well. And just for reference, the filament that I'm using is 3 years old. I'm not 100% sure that the print quality is going to be absolutely super. but from the print speed, it looks quite all right. Like I said, I'm not going super fast with this. I haven't profiled anything yet, and we will just have to find out how fast this thing could go if it was pushed to the maximum. But the way things are set up now, it could really go fast. So maybe another view just right from the top, just so you can see how fast this thing is moving around. And yeah, it's doing really fine. Nice. And the whole structure appears to be very solid. There's no vibration on the frame here, on the rods holding everything together. The worst vibration that I can feel is actually coming from the fan. I mean, these fans are just junk, and I'm not going to tell you how much I spent for these because I thought they were going to have double bearings and long cables, but this is just really evil junk. Yeah, I'm gonna let this continue and bring you back when we're done. Well, I don't really know what to say. This is a lot better than I was expecting. I mean, it is not an absolutely perfect surface, but I mean, all the challenges of the Benchy print were basically met. What you can see is that the filament is old. There's a lot of popcorning going on in there, and there are bubbles forming. But apart from that, I can see a little bit of a pattern in there that is probably either coming from the infill or from the vibrations from the belt or the fan. But basically the surfaces, the overhangs, it's not 100% perfect, but I would say maybe 95. So I'm pretty happy with that. I really don't know what to say, and I mean, it took quite a long time. But the result speaks for itself, and I think regarding speed for extrusion and movement, we can go way up with that. I mean, this looks pretty nice. This looks really nice. I mean, this is a 16 euro Bambu Lab clone extruder, and it's set up in a way that it wasn't designed to be set up, because Bambu Labs are direct extruders, and I modified it for Bowden. But this is really good. So I'm going to leave you with that. See you in the next part. Let's see that we can make it nice. Let's see if we can improve some of the parts that we have on here. I don't think so, but yeah, I do have some slight upgrades ordered, like a new power supply. I don't know what's going to happen with the original E3D extruder that I wanted to have on there. I think the clone is working fine, so I'm not going to change that now. What I will have to do is some of the some of the parts on the edges here, like the printer holders, they're not even 100% tightly screwed down right now. The parts holding the bearings for the threaded rods that I machined, they're also not perfectly held down. They're just sitting there. They're basically loose, but they're held in place through the forces by the Z-axis and the stepper at the top. So if they move, they can move freely on the profile. That way I don't get any transfer of that uneven movement to the 3D print. But I don't think that I would be getting that. It would just make the stepper, the job of the stepper, more hard, because this is so close to the rail that I don't think it would be able to transfer any movement to the X and Y axis, so you would see it on the print. The only thing that I noticed on the print was a slight pattern that basically had the pitch of the belts, so it could be that some of the routing of the belts isn't 100% perfect, but I wasn't going for 100% perfect. This was supposed to be a modular simple printer with a low parts count, and I think it still is. So with that, thank you very much for watching, and yeah, hope to see you in the next part with maybe some more elaborate prints. Have a good time, and bye-bye.